Hey everyone, this is Chris Keys for Premier Guitar. We're hanging out at the Ryman Auditorium where it's going to get loud and rocking tonight, thankfully because of Opeth and later on Graveyard. Right now I'm with Fredrik of Opeth. Fredrik, how you doing?
Very good. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
We never played here before. It's a classic venue, of course. No?
Yeah, Mother Church is gonna get loud and mean tonight.
I don't know if any metal bands played here before, so it's...
The only one I think we saw was me and Perry came here and saw Russian Circles and Mastodon a couple years ago.
Right on, okay.
That'd be the only one I think that we could say that was metal.
Yeah.
But
well, you know, CC Top played here. Awesome.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. Johnny Cash. Yeah.
Yeah, the greatest.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to welcome you to Music City, and let's just start talking guitars, man. Looks like you got maybe one of your favorites in your hands.
Yeah, this is the one of the two I play most in the set. It's the PRS 245 P245, which is because we use the piezo systems in most of our guitars.
Yeah.
That's why we have two outlets there. So I usually use the piezo either on its own or combined with a clean electric tone or even with distorted tones.
Yeah, that's a big part of your guys' sound, whether it's, you know...
Yeah, I mean, since the first album, there's a lot of heavy rhythm parts going into suddenly acoustic finger picking part.
And that's kind of the best
I mean, to have real acoustic guitars on different stands would be, You
need to be like Yngwie with the stand and just ready to get on top of the acoustic and then have to shred.
It won't be time enough because it's right on the minute sometimes, you know. So yeah, that's why. And I mean, these are great. I love this guitar.
How long have you had this particular guitar?
For maybe 3 years.
Okay.
I started using it on this tour. I was a Les Paul guy before.
Yeah.
So these single cuts. But I do have...
well, I know you've talked to us before in the magazine about recording, and one of your favorite guitars, shaped like that obviously, is a 55 Junior. Now, you don't obviously tour with that, but what do you like about a Junior when it comes to recording?
I like to mix the P90 pickup with the humbucker. So if I do two takes on my left side of the rhythm guitars, I like the combination of humbucker and the P90. Okay. Because you get some grittiness from the P90. Yeah. And somehow it has some kind of symbiosis I appreciate. And this is the other single cut model, also P245, that I use a lot in the set.
Is there anything that between those two, Fredrik, that you've done to them since, you know, Paul and the guys over in Maryland have given to you? Have you updated the pickups or wiring?
The pickup I use the M pickup, PRS pickup, which is slightly more aggressive, but it's not like a Invader or anything like that super high output. High output. I don't like super high output pickups. I like to put on more gain on the amp instead, because I think it becomes more dynamic if it's not too high output.
Yeah, it gives you a lot more to work with.
Yeah, in a way. And then for some drop we have a few different tunings. We had the Dad Fay open tuning.
Is that what like album or songs that you use for that?
That's from an album called Ghost Reveries. So we usually play one track from that one, and this is the guitar I only use for that track, which is a P22. And this is the longer scale, the 250 scale. Yeah. So you have to jump between scale lengths sometimes. Could be you have to recalibrate your fingers a little bit when you bend and stuff, but somehow it seems to work. Fingers crossed.
How does that work with like material like from Sorceress? Because that has a unique tuning as well.
Yeah, that one has one thing with the track Sorceress. We drop the low string to an A. Okay. Which is a lot. So we basically have a double A, which is kind of weird, but it worked for that song. Yeah. So I guess you can do that with any guitar, really. Yeah. We don't necessarily go for heavier gauges just because of that track. You just have to be a bit more gentle when you chug it. Somehow, I mean, it was kind of interesting. I saw this thing with Rick Beato. They compared strings. Yeah. The gauges of strings. And the lower gauge one sounded better. Is that what? So sometimes it's a bit of a macho myth, maybe, using heavier strings. I'm using quite heavy. I'm using DR strings, Veritas, 10 to 52. Okay, so you kind of like standard tuning, which is it's a bit heavy. Yeah, but the 52s are heavy. But after a couple of weeks on tour, your fingers get stronger, warmed up, so and you hit the guitar harder, I think. Yeah. So then it works. But this one is a Tremonti Prs that I use for one track, which is a bit more jazzy, fusion-ishy somehow. Is it off the new album? No, it's from an album called Heritage. It's called Nepenthe. Oh, okay. I do this kind of little bit of Alan Holdsworth inspired. I'm trying to play like him, but I can't really. I don't think anyone can. No, exactly. But it has a recessed whammy there, so you can go a bit more crazy with that. Okay. It's a cool one. I like that. This one has a Duncan JB.
Why did you swap out that? What do you
I
like
did it
about
in
the
the beginning because I always used the JB in the 59 classic setup.
Okay.
So in the beginning I swap them out, but now I tend to use the PRS pickups more. They have this one called 15, I can't remember. Might be on this one.
I was going to ask because I've known you with Arch Enemy.
5815.
Oh, okay.
I love that. It's a PAF, very warm sounding.
Which, like you said, it's kind of lower output than a more hot humbucker.
Yeah, but it still has enough chugginess,
to get the
gained
heavy.
For the heavy stuff,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I mean, Fredrik, as I was saying there, you've played with obviously Arch Enemy and a bunch of other bands before landing at Opeth, and I remember you playing ESP and Gibson Les Pauls, not the 50s Junior. But what got you to the PRS family? Because I know Mike and you both have signature models, the SE models. So how did that relationship with PRS start, and how did you kind of make that change from ESP and Gibson?
Well, it happened when I joined Opeth. Michael asked me, would you like to try out PRS guitar? I can talk to them. And
yeah.
And then we went for an American tour, and I met Beverly, the artist relations, and Win. And yeah, they were very supportive, and I think they make fantastic guitars.
Yeah.
Simple as that, you know.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the ESPs as well. They worked great for Arch Enemy at that time, but it was a different approach. I used EMGs back then, and what's nice with those, they're easy on your back, the clips. But you know, PRS, they make high quality instruments, and they're really cool people. So it's been a blessing, you know, to be able to work with them now for 13 years. It is now.
Yeah.
So it was just a bit of a coincidence, and the fact that the quality was outstanding.
Yeah. It's got to be kind of cool to be a guitar nerd growing up as a kid and then eventually playing in all these bands, to have a company approach you not only to probably give you guitars or ask you how to have input on a certain instruments, but then you eventually got your own signature model that you had.
Yeah, I mean, they're not available now at your second-hand market, but
yeah.
That was awesome, you know. So hopefully we can do something like that again in the future.
Yeah, you never know.
I'll try to compile a mail one of these days. And also, this is another guitar, the P24.
Oh, all right.
Also the piezo system. And this one used to be my main, but for this tour, I didn't need the whammy so much for these solos, so I figured I'd go with this stop tail bridge.
Yeah.
But this is actually my backup and warm-up guitar on this tour.
Gotcha.
But I love it. It's great. It's been used a lot.
Yeah.
It's I use this a lot on the albums as well for leads.
Okay.
That's the one I use the most.
And is there any reason why you don't have any PRS guitars or any of the touring guitars that have P90s, because you do enjoy recording with that sound?
Well, live they're a bit noisy, you know, so it's a bit too much hassle.
Yeah.
I did have an idea to have a P90 in the neck position though, because we have a lot of riffs, the more proggier stuff we play on the neck pickup to get a bit more muddy sound. And that would have worked with the P90, so maybe I'll think about that in the future. It's a cool combination.
Yeah, another reason to get a new guitar.
I don't know if Tom Schultz had that combination, perhaps.
I'm not familiar, but Boston does rock.
They do.
And I gotta ask.
That's all my guitars.
But for one of my favorite souls on the new record, Lovelorn Crime, is any of those get recorded with that, or is that stuff you probably had at the studio back in Sweden?
Well, that particular solo is a Strat.
Oh, really?
Strat from '58.
Dang.
That the studio owned. So when it comes to recording in the studio, I think anything that works best for the song is, you know, I don't think PRS will be mad at us or anything.
Yeah,
if we
no.
You know, but live, they're so trustworthy, and I mean, we do use them on the recordings, but for the new album, we use different guitars for each song. So we really spend a lot of time comparing, depending on what's going to fit in that type of sound frame for each particular song.
Do you enjoy doing that? Because before we started rolling, you were telling us that you're such a guitar dork. So is that fun for you in the studio, getting to try all sorts of different guitars, and whether it's amps, guitars, anything to?
It's both fun and a bit frustrating, because when I'm in the studio, I want to get results quickly.
Yeah.
You know, you know the songs before, but what's most time-consuming is that comparing guitars and amps and stuff. But usually we settle for an amp, and then it's all about which guitars we're going to use.
Yeah.
We don't use much pedals in front of the amp unless it's some kind of effect or stuff like that. It's mostly straight in.
Okay.
To get, I think you get a better core.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
And then you can build from that.
Yeah.
Well, we went through your guitars, and unfortunately, Michael is dealing with some laryngitis, so he's unavailable to talk. But you, as the self-proclaimed guitar dork, is going to finish the tour. So talk us through Michael's stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Michael is mainly using these P24s. So he's going for the white look.
Yeah.
So he has a couple of these white ones, and he has the more fatter neck.
They're classic.
Vintage pattern neck, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's his kind of setup. It's pretty basic.
Yeah.
And so he basically I'm gonna get yelled at by the guitar tech now.
I think you'll be okay. As long as you're touching them and I'm not, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, so he has a lot of those customs P24s, 3 of those.
Okay.
Here's his recent one he got. A green one, the leprechaun.
Is that what you guys are calling it, the leprechaun?
I call it. I don't know what he called it. That's the first thing I thought about. It's the leprechaun guitar.
I like it.
It's nice. And then he has a McCarthy as well that he used for that track you mentioned, Sorceress, where we have the
double A.
The double A drop. So that one has a fixed bridge, which makes sense for that song.
Yeah.
So you don't get this, some kind of intonation problems if you're muting your palm there. What else does he have?
What's the last one on the stand? I assume maybe that's the first one he gets each night?
Yeah, like the first track in the set, we tuned that a half step down.
Okay.
Which is the first track of the new album, mainly because we don't want to go too high on the vocals.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of shows in a row. So that's his second whitey, which is also cool.
Pretty.
It's been worn a bit.
And I know we talked about strings already, Fredrik, but so you're playing standard, you have the double A tuning. Are there any other tunings you guys use throughout the night?
It's mainly standard tuning, apart from the first track, which is a half step down. And then we have the Dad Fa E tuning, which is an open D tuning, but the top E is not a D, but an E.
Okay. What song is that for?
A song called Harlequin Forest from the Ghost Reveries album.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty cool track. And yeah, that's basically it.
And the last thing I got to ask is for the song Deliverance, which is, if anyone is an Opeth fan, that's kind of the bread and butter for the heavy, especially going back in the catalog. Is there a specific guitar that you use for Deliverance?
Yeah. I use this one. It's ebony fretboard, mahogany body. It gives me the punch I need for all that stuff. The downstroke, heavy palm muting, etc., etc.
Fredrik, we've talked several times before meeting here in person in the Ryman, and you've used Black Star Series 1s, the JVMs, which I know you use at home in the studio. But as you'll show in the camera here, we have an updated amp lookout for you guys.
Yeah, we do.
So talk to me about what you're using and eventually what Mike's going on.
Well, we started we were doing some flying gigs, and Stefan from Boutique Amps in Germany, he's working with Friedman and Synergy amps. And he approached us to try out the Synergy stuff. And I've never been a real fan of the digital solutions that many people use. I mean, they work, but somehow I missed the core. And with this stuff, it's so cool because you have modules, so you can design your own type of amp setup. So in this Syn2 mothership, or whatever you want to call it, I can fit in 2 preamps, which will have 2 channels each. And it's also MIDI controlled. And there's a power amp with 100 watts with 4 6L6 tubes in it. So it's a stereo
it's real
one.
tube.
It's real tube all the way. So it's the same as a tube amp, but you can switch these modules while everything is up and running.
Dang.
Just like a cassette,
Yeah. So which ones are you running specifically in the Synergy?
I've been using the Friedman Dirty Shirley for clean and crunch tones, and Soldano SL100 for heavy rhythm and leads. And but now I'm experimenting with the Steve Vai one for clean and crunch, and I also have the Bogner Überschaller. So I'm kind of experimenting when time allows and sound checks too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's so cool. You can just try different stuff all the time.
And
if you need a plexi or something similar to that, that's also available.
Cool.
So I think it's a real cool concept, you know. So
how long have you been using them? Has it just been on these US
on
run?
this for this new album, In Cauda Venenum, for this tour? And fingers crossed, I've been working like a clock. So
awesome.
Me and Michael have a similar setup. He's still using the dirty Shirley Friedman, but he also uses the Soldano SL100 preamp for his heavy stuff.
Now, are you? Well, you can show us in the flash here in a second. But when you're switching between those, between like the Soldano and the Friedman, is that foot controlled or how is that handled?
It's MIDI.
Oh, okay.
So I have a MIDI program, MIDI board there,
and you're able to switch between it.
I have a Musicon loop switching system, so I can switch between analog pedals and that stuff on the go. And also, it needs to be incorporated with the piezo stuff.
Okay.
So I want to be able to control that silent or on and stuff like that. So that's kind of this is a guy from Sweden from a company called Sound of Silence who built the pedal board. So you have to build in some kind of relay switching thing for the piezo to work, but it's working, so it's pretty cool.
And one last question before we go over and talk to pedals. I know the pedal geeks are getting mad at me. I remember seeing in other videos and other interviews you've done is that you were really conscious of the shortest signal path, not so much in terms of like having few pedals, but you always wanted to keep your pedals in a rack so they're closer to the amp, so you had less cable running through that. Now you have a standard pedal board without the stuff in the rack. Why has that changed?
Because sometimes we had some problems with different guitar techs, and I had to run out right before the gigs, and there's a lot of stress, you know, with the hoodie and trying to work stuff out. And somehow the Göran who built my pedal board were like, I think I want to have everything up front because now I know it's there, you know. And you only need one buffer, and the signal path it sounds good. You know? Yeah. So the setup I had before, only time the actual audio cable came up to the pedal board was when I activated the volume pedal. But now it's all there, but I don't feel the difference. You know? Yeah. So I kind of stepped away from that. It's cool to have everything there because you also have the ability to turn off something on the fly. Yeah. And some of the pedals I use, like there's a TC there, it has an oscillation effect. I could press it and hold it, and I do some stuff with the echoes on the fly, which would have been more tricky. Yeah. You know, being able to interact with the stuff on the stage. I also tweak some knobs here and there, depending on which songs we're playing and stuff like that. So, okay. One last thing. It was about. It makes me wonder because of the Live at Royal Albert Hall DVD you guys put out. I don't want you to say the guitar tech's name, but did something happen because through one of the songs there's chaos, we'll say, among you and where your signal drops out? Is that something to do with your pedal board, or is that something completely different? Exactly what that was the camera guy, because we're recording a live DVD. He stepped the power, the cable to the power amp, to the actual amp, and we didn't know. It was Miller standing here. He was with us. And we didn't know because all the pedals were fired up. Because they left it in. Because I saw you, I watched them, you look frantic. So it took us a while to realize what it was, but it was the camera guy. I didn't see him after the show. Yeah, I bet. Hopefully, he didn't get any credit in the DVD. But we were kind of lucky, you know, because it happened in a spot in the song, so we didn't have to start up the song from the beginning. Yeah, it was just a very long break, but luckily, Axe, our drummer, kept the hi-hat going. So it was weird, but. At least it proves we're a real live band, right? Yeah, no, I love that. Well, enough of my yakking and questions. Let's go talk about your pedal board, man. Yeah. All right, Fredrik, cool, guys. We're getting cramped on time, but we want to make sure we include Michael's stuff real quick. Sure. He's got the AX8 for all of his effects, and I saw that he has a small stone phaser. Other than that, that's kind of his setup. He's got the Synergy stuff, the AX8 for effects, and a phaser. Exactly. He uses the delays and reverb from the AX8. And the small stone in front, and it also has a Dunlop Q95 wall. Gotcha. So that's basically his setup. And let's talk about your station here. So, my station basically is with this Musicon switching system, where I have 7 loops, I believe, or something like that. So I have the Univibe, the Octaver, the MXR Phase 95, and I have a one control tremolo, and I use the wah pedal and the fuzz pedal I have, which is a Fussner by Olson amps, and the Strymon and this TC delay pedal. Those two goes in the loop direct, so they're not involved in the switching system.
Okay.
But this one will switch between the Synergy amps and whatever kind of stomp I want on.
Can we hear the two different, like the clean amp and then the dirty amp?
So this is my like dirty rhythm sound. And usually I have a patch with a bit of echo. And that's the Strymon, because we have a lot of echo. And then for my like old man's rock tone, this is like. You can also kick in the Fussner. For a more brutal sound. And that one will be my piezo sound. Whoop. Drop my pick here.
It's a live show.
And this is my lead tone. So if I go from the rhythm, etc., etc. And
is that like where the EP booster comes in, is on the solos?
I don't actually have it on many because I don't need it.
Okay.
So that one is still there, but I don't really use it much actually.
Okay.
Don't need it yet. And also I used some like more psychedelic effects with the echo, like. Or in some songs I like to use this one, which has this swell kind of function.
So like you couldn't do that if it was in the rack?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of prefer this setup. Yeah, I used to face 90, that's why I like to have the pedal board up here. So if I'm going from this solo, for instance. I could be able to kick it in like that, like a regular stomp thing, which is cool.
What do you use the octave for? I know that I know because your new album is both in English and Swedish. I'm not real familiar with the titles, but there's one song where you and Mike were playing something either really heavy, whether it's a baritone.
Oh, that is actually bass guitars.
Oh, so it's you guys aren't even playing guitar?
No, it's just heavily distorted bass guitars.
Oh,
we're not playing that live, but the octaver is mainly for.
I didn't know if that was used for that. Okay.
For the more, which is a lead. That type of thing. So it's there, but it's always fun, you know, to be. Play Richie Blackmore or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah. So then again, look, for some tracks I use the piezo and the electric guitar like that. So in the Deliverance at the end, for instance, I kick it in. Some people in the crowd are like, well, where's that acoustic player? But it's like that, which is pretty cool. And also, I like the combination of the piezo and electric for some parts. Like. But then I have to kick off the noise gate because otherwise it
kind of really crushes it.
So I use it like that. For instance. And then I have the volume pedal that I use. So I could have, and it's set up like, hold on. So if I go from one, it's in the input, so it gets more, it cleans up. Which I use in some tracks, which is quite convenient if I want to go to more crunch tone. I just take the volume down, then I can just kick it back. keep dropping my picks all the time. What's the matter?
You need to get some tape.
Yeah. So this Fastener's pedal is pretty cool also. It has like an octave up if you want to do the Jimi Hendrix kind of thing.
It's like some evil bandit gypsy stuff right there.
I like those when you use a fuzz pedal on high gain tones.
Yeah.
Some purists, they're like, you can't do that. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's all mad. It's all about having fun, Fred.
So that's basically it for tuner. We use the Polytune. It's all powered up by Klotz cables.
Yep, and then you got the Decibel 11 power supply.
Yeah. And that's a connection box that Sound Asylum built for this pedal board.
Cool.
And this is an expression pedal, but I don't have it connected yet.
Maybe
but it
someday.
could be used without a guy or...
Oh, yeah.
Also, the design of the pedal board is like this space, it could vary. You could swap things out, which is fun with pedal
Someday.
boards.
Someday you'll put something in there.
If you find something fun, you can just put it in there, you know.
Yeah. Well,
That's like the basic setup, I would say.
I love it. It's got a little bit of everything, but it's able to be travel friendly.
I mean, I also like the Q95 wall that you can use. Just that it's auto wall. For me, it's convenient because sometimes I just use it for a little screaming within the rhythm or something like that.
Well, cool, Fredrik. Thank you so much for talking through us, not only your gear, but Michael's gear.
My pleasure.
This is awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the trip from Sweden to rock our faces off in Nashville. This is another rig rundown for Premier Guitar.